Welcome to Around the NFL, presented by Season 2 of The Boys, only on Amazon Prime Video. My name is Dan Hansis, joined in a virtual room filled with heroes. Greg Rosenthal, Mark Sessler. What is up, boys?
Just another quiet week in American sports, Dan. You know?
Yes, I ask what's up, Mark, but the answer is everything, actually. A lot's going on.
Yes, it is.
We're going to unpack it. It's been a seismic week in this country. We're going to get to everything that's going on in the NFL, and we're going to have Mike Garafolo joining us later to talk Eagles and other NFL news as we approach kickoff, less than 2 weeks away. But we're going to start where everyone's starting right now and what's happening in this country and in the sports world in response to the shooting of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin on Sunday. It started actually in Detroit, where the Lions canceled practice on Tuesday. We all know what happened next. The NBA players had a walkout during Wednesday's scheduled playoff games, canceling all action until this weekend. And the NFL then had practices canceled across the country for the past day or 2 days. And here are some tweets from across the league. Stephon Gilmore: I do not have the words to meet the depths of my frustration and sadness. That's a sentiment that we're seeing a lot of right now. And remember, we're now 3 months since the death of George Floyd. So there's a bookend on what's been a wild summer. Joe Burrow of the Bengals: how can you hear the pain Black people are going through and dismiss it as nothing? How can you hear the pain and respond with anything other than I stand with you? Let's check out another one. Kenyon Drake, Cardinals running back: we have the day off today to educate and reflect on who we are as individuals and where we need to progress as people. Honored to be in an organization of men and women who lead the charge for change in this country. Really, it's been a wild year, as I said, and it just feels like it never stops, Greg, this avalanche of things that are just so life-changing. And what's happening this week is just the latest chapter.
And it's so interesting that it did start in the NFL in terms of the sports world's response with that Lions team really making a strong message a day before the NBA teams decided not to play their games. And you think of the impact that it's having, and people are asking, well, okay, you skip practice or you miss a game. Like, what difference is that going to do? Like, look all around you. Look at the NFL Network's coverage. I think about our network as someone who's worked here a long time, and I'm watching our friend Steve Weish host on Thursday and see the pain that Eric Kendricks, the Vikings linebacker, talks about, and how can that not impact you, and not just understanding like what these players are going through emotionally, but also coming up with solutions. The Ravens statement to me really stands out of asking for specific bullet points from the government, from people. And it's very different than it was a few years ago when this was the same organization that said publicly that they had asked their sponsors and their fans whether they should sign Colin Kaepernick or not. So it's a very different world we're living in. It's painful, but I think some of the players like Stephon Gilmore and Devin McCourty that really expressed their pain, I hope they do feel the change and the conversations that they are inspiring. Because, I mean, just look at us talking about it. I really do think it's helping to educate people and to change this country.
And the NBA, it was kind of a watershed moment to see players walk off the court during a playoff game. I mean, we're seeing players in the NFL sitting out practice, but the fact that it happened in the middle of the most important part of the season was players and the league and the NBA using their platform to bring people's attention. If you're not going to pay attention to the news, pay attention to the fact that your games are now gone. That's really interesting to me. And a report from Jim Trotter, of our own Jim Trotter here at NFL Network, jumped out to me. A tweet: NFL owners should be careful. A few prominent Black players are telling me they want to sit out a game to make their feelings felt and force change action. They are tired, frustrated, and emotional. It's only a few at this point, but sparks become flames and flames become infernos. Your thoughts, Mark?
I just think it's incredible to see the reach and the power that these players have. I think their voices are more raw and real than what you're getting from most politicians right now. So for me, what I look at is a power shift amongst the NFL players where, yes, just like these other leagues, if you are going to see these injustices continue, your option is to step away and take away these games that everyone wants, and to do it for the right reasons. I mean, I listened to the words of Troy Vincent from our league office, and I mean, it is hard not to feel the emotion that he was sharing about what he goes through as a father. And, you know, for those of us that maybe just haven't been as close to this for most of our lives, I mean, it's been 3 or 4 months of extreme learning, and it's very much inside our NFL Network community. It's very much beyond. And the players today, they didn't have these voices decades ago. I think it's great to see because it matters. And if it costs a disruption for some point in the season, it's for the right reasons. And it's probably a long time coming.
And you better handle it right if you're a coach. I think about some reports that were out in terms of Matt Patricia and how he got along with his players. And so seeing them together as one, to me is very powerful. We saw the Titans message. Every coach is going to do it differently. But I think John Harbaugh said it well on Friday, talking about maybe everyone in this building doesn't agree 100% with every part of that statement, but we trust in our players. And to them, it's ultimately not a political issue. It's a human rights issue. It's treating Black people with respect. And for Harbaugh to say that, and for an organization to say that, that is different than we've heard. And I think it's going to be incumbent on coaches and general managers and owners to really be able to handle this moment.
It's an important story in the NFL. It's an important story in our country, and it will continue to unfold even after the season begins. So we'll see what happens next. We're going to get into football talk coming up on the Around the NFL broadcast. Mike Garafolo, one of the great insiders here at NFL Network, is going to tell us what's going on in that camp, and they are having a lot of people get hurt. How do they recover? Up next. Enjoying the Around the NFL broadcast? Well, you'll love the Around the NFL podcast, the #1 NFL podcast in the game. By our estimation, at least. News, analysis, and coverage of every game delivered, as always, with a touch of mirth. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back to the broadcast, and now we welcome in one of our favorite dudes, Mike Garafolo of NFL Network. You know him as a reporter, an insider. You know, I call him a personality, too, if you watch that Good Morning Football show. This guy does it all. What's going on, Mike? What do you got going on?
You got the double ears going on, so I don't know. You know, I never liked the one ear look, so I'll go with the double ear.
Are you like flexing right now? I feel like Garafolo's always doing crazy things around the camera, like he's swatting butterflies away, or he's picking up, you know, the groceries or trash near me. It's almost like he's showing off. Look how comfortable I am. I can do it all while I'm on camera.
No, well, the beauty of outside this shot is if the camera moves either way, it's a mess. Like, that's a cereal bowl. There's my empty water bottle.
That's real life.
I got pens. Here, oh, this is good. You'll love this. So they sent us this. This is a touch tool, right? Okay. So you don't have to touch anything. Official NFL Network touch tool.
Can I just say
elevator
something?
Buttons. You can open the door. You know.
We have so much to get to, but I want to just make note of a few things. I saw James Palmer in the tweet before with the official NFL Network mask, which I know Garafolo has. That's a 2020 polo shirt that Garafolo has. He has a touch tool. What do we have? We have nothing.
We got a show now. We got a show.
This has nothing to do with the NFL or NFL. I got a Canadian moose right here. If you want that.
This might be why we have nothing. Just throwing that out there.
All right, let's get into it, Mike. There's so much to get into. Let's start with what's going on at the Eagles. You're always around that team. And Andre Dillard, their left tackle, crushing development with the torn biceps. That's going to end his season. Brandon Brooks, they already lost to the Achilles. Jason Peters, the veteran who was supposed to replace Brooks, is he now the new left tackle? Because last time I checked, he was an old left tackle.
Yeah, that's the assumption. Your new old left tackle, that he would slide from right guard to left tackle. And look, that was part of the decision. Hey, we'll bring back Jason Peters. They did tell Dillard, this has nothing to do with you. We have the full confidence in you to be our left tackle. And they felt like he could handle it, and that's why they made the move to bring back Peters, who was in because Brooks was down, and now Peters winds up filling in for the other guy that was the second part, was the contingency part of bringing him back. But yes, that is the expectation. And look, he's going to get banged up. He's going to miss a few drives. He's got a 38, 39-year-old body, whatever it is right now. I do know this. He's told people he feels like he could play into his 40s. He's saying, well, if Tom Brady can do it, why can't I do it? And I think the answer is because he doesn't get touched in practice. He's got a red jersey, and he's not allowed to be touched in certain areas during the game. Otherwise, it's a penalty. That's why, Jason. But you know what? If you feel like you're on the same level as him, you can play as long as him, good for you. He is a freak in a lot of ways. So, that's the expected route that's going to happen here. And then Matt Pryor jumps in at right guard. Never count out the possibility that Howie Roseman could work something, whether via trade or signing, to bring somebody else in. But that is the expected path that the Eagles are going to take. And I had an Eagles source text me after the injury and said, quote, we're going to be fine. So they're confident they're still going to be okay despite losing two guys. And don't forget, by the way, Dillard was struggling in camp. Don't forget that part.
He was uneven
Mike,
as a rookie as well.
I'd ask you about the quarterback that used to play for the Eagles, Nick Foles, now in Chicago, in one of the only quarterback battles we have in the NFL right now. And I'm just wondering where we are with that, what you think how that will play out. And I favor Foles, and I have to ask this question. The Mitch Trubisky experience, if he wins, seems over there. Would they ever, do you think, be willing to move him in a trade this season if someone else got into a real need for a quarterback?
I mean, you'd really, yeah. I mean, the problem is the rest of the league is seeing what those inside the Bears who are not high on Trubisky are seeing. So the opinion outside the building is not great on him. I'll say this to answer your question. Matt Nagy is keeping it tight. Okay, so not a lot of folks in that building know what's happening from what I can gather. So they are reading the tea leaves. And they're reading different tea leaves than we're reading. We're seeing what's happening in practice, what people are saying publicly. There's also conversations, meetings, things behind the scenes. But those folks tend to think that Nick Foles may be able to do this without any preseason games. May be able to come in and knock off Mitch Trubisky and wind up being the guy for the Bears. And if that's the case, yes, then the Trubisky experiment is over. Honestly, when I saw this thing go down, the Foles trade, and I had the immediate conversations, me kind of educated guessing was they're going to stick with Trubisky until they absolutely positively can. Because that's part of this regime and what they did. And maybe that's the feeling of the front office and not necessarily the coaching staff. I'm not going to say that they're on different pages, but when you make a move for a guy and people question why you made the move for it, particularly when the quarterbacks drafted well behind him are doing much better right now, you want to be vindicated. You want to be validated in the end. But this is a team that feels like they have to win ball games and win them now. So I give Nick Foles a real shot here to win the job for week 1.
Right. The time might be now. If players see that Foles is better, and this is a guy who's had one of the best Super Bowl performances of all time, like they're going to want him in there. Mark raised an interesting question about trades, and I think about the league as a whole in terms of trades. At the end of the preseason, right about now would be the third preseason week. That's a time when we usually see some interesting names get dealt or that they're available because maybe they're not going to make their team or they're not going to start. You don't want to keep them on the salary cap. What do you think, Mike, that the impact of no preseason is going to be on this entire trade and cut season?
I think it's huge, and I think that because I just got off the phone just a couple of minutes ago with a personnel guy who's
humble brag.
Echoed the comments. There you go. Echoed the sentiments of some other folks recently, which is that if you don't have the tape to validate what you're seeing or hearing or whatever, what you think, then you can't really have that trade. And a lot of times these trades are, hey, this guy's not going to make our roster. Give us one of the guys that aren't going to make your roster, and we'll see if in the last 2 preseason games or the last game he can show up and maybe make our roster. And then sometimes both guys wind up getting cut anyway. So that's the problem right now. You nailed it. That's why I don't think we're going to see a lot of action. But we did see the Kalen Ballage trade already with the Dolphins, putting it out there that they were going to let him go, and then all of a sudden they make the move for him. So We'll see if we have a few of those. But right now, teams are paring down rosters, so it's not like they're looking to add unless there's a guy out there that they really, honestly, truly feel like they want to add. And it could be after we report that he's getting cut that it turns into a trade because they want to make sure they get him rather than wait for waivers.
Before we say goodbye to you, Mike, I know how it works. You don't want to get put into that information man box 24/7. I've had conversations with Rap Sheet. That's how the Rap Sheet Has Friends podcast began, to get just some thoughts out there.
It's
what's
a small
going on
box.
in the league.
It's a small box.
I'm just curious, Mike, do you have any takes? Do you have any thoughts about, any feelings about what's going on as we approach week 1? A team you like, a team you don't like? Hit us.
That's a good one because we never get a chance to do our, not predictions, but like our, hey, who we hot, because we're paying attention and we're hearing stuff and we go, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't think we're giving that team enough love. I'll give you a couple of teams that I feel like you should be hotter on than maybe some people are giving credit. The Detroit Lions are one, and I know that's going to register here. I know it's going to register. Sessler was the one that's bullish on them, right? Yes, there we go. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm on the same page with you.
Where did that come from?
What's that?
I don't know where the
Dan
Sessler
does not
being a
follow
Lions
me on
fan
Twitter,
came
so
from.
he doesn't realize that I've been tweeting
Right.
about the Lions for like 3 weeks. So
Sessler's going to change his mind in like 2 weeks, and we'll never hear about it again. But I put some stock into it.
Here's the key, though. Here's the key for Sessler, the Detroit Lions, Lions Nation, is they can't stumble out of the block. If they stumble out of the block, this is still like, does Matt Patricia have control of this locker room? I feel like it could just nosedive. So they got to start strong. Otherwise, I'll say, I never said this like Francesa does. I never said that, even though you have the clip.
I never said that.
I never said that. So that's a team. And I've been high on the Chargers all along. I mean, since they didn't get Tom Brady, I said, I don't care. You win games in this league with Tyrod Taylor. Do you win Super Bowls? No, but you win games with Tyrod Tayller. And maybe it's Hard Knocks recency bias and I'm watching it. I still think this team's got a ton of talent. I love Anthony Lynn. Are they going to win the division? No, of course not, because the Chiefs are. But they could make some noise.
Give me something negative. Give me
the
something
team,
negative, Mike.
Well, you're not going to like it. It's the Jets. I mean, I'm not high.
Well, you're really out on a limb there, Mike.
I think it could be. I just think it could be really bad. You've already got. A lot of times I go to training camps and I say to myself, I can convince myself any team is going to compete. Any team, because every team's got at least depth on the first level, or not depth. They got starters. They just don't have depth. I'm looking at the Jets. I'm like, oh my God, they already got this hole. They already got that hole. They got holes already. We haven't even played a preseason game. So I could be really bad.
Look at the smile on Rosenthal's face.
Well, it was a bit of a cold take, though. I mean, you don't want to keep you in the information man box. You got to come hotter than the Jets are going to be.
Well, if I say maybe first overall pick, like that kind of bad.
Okay, that's good.
Bad.
I like
that's
that.
better.
Yeah.
then would they take a
that's
quarterback? I hope that wouldn't be the case.
Now we'll have
That's
that conversation if I'm right about the first part. How about that?
All right, there you go, Mike Garafolo. Thank you, as always. Now you can return to the rest of your room, which, according to you, is a pigsty. Maybe now time to clean it up. I don't know. Thank you, Mike. Coming up on the broadcast. Oh, yeah, everyone is excited about the Arizona Cardinals on offense. They are fast, super fast. How fast? Insanely fast. Up next.
A new era dawns in the desert, and you have a front row seat to history.
Murray setting up, throws a deep ball right side, touchdown!
What a big-time throw by Kyler Murray.
Murray keeps it running left to the 5, and Murray dives for the touchdown.
Speed, baby, speed. Kyler Murray takes a shot down the field over the shoulder.
It's a perfect throw.
Oh, that's big time, baby.
Murray quarterback run to the left. Murray's going to score, touchdown!
That is lightning in a jar.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Yes, Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, boys. Everyone is excited and under the belief that that is an offense with Cliff Kingsbury in his second year that is going to take off. And we're hearing some percolations from camp that the offense is out of control right now. Here's what Cardinals defensive lineman Jordan Phillips said Boy, it's crazy fast at training camp. And it is, I don't like to call these out, but you have to. It's part of our jobs as hardcore journos.
You like it.
It's a trope alert. Yes, it's a trope alert. It's in my database. And the trope alert goes as follows. Player X, the offense has never been faster. Now, Sessler. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not actually faster, but that just happens to be bandied about a lot this time of year. Do you believe it in the desert?
Well, number one, it is absolutely a trope. I just think that it's a trope because it's applied poorly a lot of times. I do buy it in this situation because the Cardinals last year, and everyone was waiting to see what Cliff Kingsbury's offense would look like, 4th fastest offense in the league according to Football Outsiders. So we've already seen that this is what they want to be. Playing with
That's already
tempo,
crazy fast, by the way.
That's what?
That's crazy fast
yes,
already.
It is. It is. That's the thing. And so if they're going even quicker, remember it was an off season ago when veterans on the team were like, we've never seen anything like this in the NFL, and we're catching up. Now the defense is finding out the same thing. So I really do believe in it, and I really think that you're going to see, if nothing else, a team that the point of going up tempo, the team of going no huddle is to put defenses. The reason you do this is you put defenses into a thing where they have to be basic. They can't shift into different sets and stuff. So I love it for Arizona, and if everyone's picking up the offense this quickly now, then you hit week 1 with some momentum. You hit week 1 in, going full speed, where a bunch of other teams are going to be catching up. So I think it's a great move by Kingsbury and his guys.
I'm buying it. I don't even know. Is it a trope if it becomes true? Who can really tell? If you're going that fast, 4th fastest with a rookie, you're going to go even faster. I do think Cliff Kingsbury almost was a little underrated by how different this offense was. They were 1st or 2nd in the league in empty or shotgun formations. They had 4 receivers on the field 33% of the time. No other team in the league had it more than 8%. So yeah, they adjusted some things. It opens up the running game. It's not all about passing, but Kingsbury really did bring a much different style offense, and we could use it. These NFL coaches who are all copying each other, let's have some originality.
Right. I think he's more than just a man with a nice house in the desert that we saw during the draft. There's something else going on there, Dan.
He's more than an expensive haircut. I guess I'm going to put on my coach hat because I'm qualified in this category and just said, as long as it works, because if you are running plays at hyperspeed and you go 3 and out a few times and your defense isn't that good, and we'll see what's going on with that Cardinals defense, this type of stuff can backfire. But maybe Cliff Kingsbury becomes the greatest coach of all time, and this is just the beginning. We'll find out. In other news, let's look at another NFC West team, the San Francisco 49ers, who are dealing with an injury issue, and it's not a good one. Nick Bosa, who was dominant as a rookie last year, he's week to week with a leg injury. Brandon Ayuk, their wide receiver, they're very high on, also week to week with a hamstring. Greg, you've been, staring at the ointment and tossing some flies into it when people try to say the Niners are unstoppable the last couple of weeks. Is this building into your theory that they're sneaky vulnerable right now?
Absolutely, because they're so banged up. It's not just those 2 guys, but with Ayuk gone and Deebo Samuel, we didn't mention, their top 2 centers, including Ben Garland, who Mark Sessler will tell you pretty much daily that he went to Europe on a USO. Yeah, we know you went on the USO trip.
We got it, Mark. Congratulations.
Okay. They're also missing Kyle Juszczyk, D Ford, their nickel corner, K'Wan Williams, who's a really good player, is out for a while. So once you're just stacking these on top of another, and especially when it's at one position group like wide receiver where you already had some questions, yes, I do get concerned.
And let me before Mark jumps in, let me just jump in. Yeah. This will be the part of the show where Mark now says, but Kyle Shanahan is so beautiful and so perfect, none of it will matter. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, look, I do trust Kyle Shanahan as much as anyone to, maybe flip up the scheme a little bit if he needs to. I guess if you wanted to be super positive, and if some of these injuries, in a month from now, they're over some of this, that your depth is getting a ton of practice reps. I don't like it in any other way, really. I mean, when you're signing Kevin White, you've reached that point where you need bodies on the field. So it's really concerning. I mean, there's going to be teams that get out to slow starts. I did not have the Niners pegged for that, but this is beyond their control, and it's about the worst. It's why we don't want preseason games sometimes, is because you lose these guys to injuries. So now it's just happening in the practices. Unfriendly.
I wish there were preseason games. I miss them now. Absent makes the heart grow
You
fonder.
do until you're about a quarter
I've come
into
around.
the first
It's
one.
like
Come on.
it does not feel like the season is starting so soon. I'm with you. Now I'm back to missing the preseason. I was fine with it being gone last week.
Yeah, you're all
Guys
over
are
the place
crazy.
with that one. How about this for your autobiography, Staring at the Ointment, the Greg Rosenthal story? Could work.
I mean, who's writing that? I want someone more. Yeah, I don't want you writing it. There's too much bias going on there. I want
You don't want me
it would be a
Naomi as well.
tell-all. It would be a splashy tell-all. Finally, Bruce Arians very happy with the way his Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense is running now that it's Tom Brady doing the business and not Jameis Winston. Here's James Palmer, NFL Network, who's bunkered down there right now. Bruce Arians was talking about the 98-yard touchdown drive to start the day for Brady and the ones and how guys were dragging. Talking about Brady's leadership and command, he got their ass in the huddle. Overall, he had a hell of a day. Woo. And here's more from JP. The Bucs scrimmage today was pretty much in a game format. Brady looked sharp and in complete command. From watching every day of camp, Brady today appeared to me to have that in-game ultra-competitive focus going as opposed to a practice field. Okay. Little cold water here. The Tom Brady summer of 2020 hype machine, and you knew it was going to happen, but it feels a little bit wild right now. It feels a little bit overly optimistic because we have about 2 years of tape that the guy was in decline, and now all we get is breathless reports that the Bucs are the greatest offense anyone's ever seen.
I mean, you go back 2 years, he also won the Super Bowl. I hear you a little bit in New England that he didn't look the same last year, but I'm
he
buying
wasn't
this.
the same.
I think that this,
wait a second, but he wasn't the same. If you actually watched all the games, which I know you did, Mark, he wasn't the same guy in 2018 either. He had a very nice game, but if you look at the entire
Mahomes, the MVP.
If you look at the entire 2018 season and 2019, this is a guy in hashtag gradual decline. So why would he now become Tom Brady of yesteryear?
I'm not saying yesteryear as in 10 years ago, but I think it does matter when you get someone in Tom Brady's situation where, he was playing chicken with the Patriots and vice versa. He's in a great place now. He and Arians are gelling. I think the thing is, the respect that the teammates have for him, talking about the huddle, stuff like that, I buy all that. And I think that Tom Brady is a guy that could totally run. He could absolutely do things that we think he can't do anymore. I'm never going to be the guy that doesn't believe in Tom Brady. More quarterbacks should have been in parks 3 months ago getting carted away by authorities like he was, because it's making all the difference. The guy's 100%. He's totally plugged in.
I don't agree with that.
That was reckless and dangerous to himself and his teammates.
Dan is the guy who's got to be ahead of the game predicting Tom Brady's decline. But hey, 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. You would take that decline in New York or Cleveland. And when you're replacing Jameis Winston, I think everything looks great at practice. I think Bruce Arians is just kind of excited that he's got a grown-up running the offense. And why not be happy?
Let's check back in, by the way, with James Palmer for a second here, just because we love JP. He was on the show last week. Oh, no. He wants to talk about the Bucs, but he's trapped in the stadium. No way out. As of right now, we're working on it. Send food. This is, especially at this time, these are precarious times, Mr. Sessler, in the world. You don't want to be kind of locked anywhere where there's nobody around, because you might be in a situation where no one checks in for 3 weeks.
Right, but I feel like if I were trapped somewhere, my hair would look still 1/10 as good as James Palmer's. So I don't feel that. He seems to be doing okay. Reports are he's gotten out too. Are we right there?
Is that true? I was kind of hoping to take us through the weekend a little bit. I thought that might have been fun if we just had a little bit of intrigue.
Put him back in. Let's put him back in.
Okay, that's an option too. All right, let's move on. Coming up next on the broadcast. Oh yes, it is time now to share our hero of the week. And look at this, it's fantasy draft time. Are you ready? Well, we got a hero to tell you about.
One-on-one, huge showdown, Silva Sessler, fantasy world.
Let's focus on the first part of the question. Go ahead.
I have never played in a 2-team league, and I can't even. I mean, this is such a classic Sessler question because I feel like there is some intelligence behind it, but I just don't understand what he's saying at all.
One of the funniest moments from the fantasy extravaganza. with Evan Silva. Now it is time now for Hero of the Week, presented by Season 2 of The Boys, only on Amazon Prime Video. And Greg, I don't think we can go anywhere else during this time of fantasy football drafts when looking for a true hero than fantasy football expert Mark Sessler. Congratulations, Mark. You're the Hero of the Week. How does it feel?
Well, I'm shocked. I'm flattered. I put the work in, so I shouldn't be too surprised. But thank you very much. What an honor to come from, I guess, the two of you and our production staff. I don't know who else to thank.
Well, Greg, you're a hero because on how this happened?
I mean, he slammed fantasy football for years. He calling people who played at hobby horses, and suddenly he's like all about it. He's sending out little tweets with hot takes. I mean, come on.
Well, I have a hot take for you. And first of all, I think some of the great things that happen are when villains turn good, like when Macho Man turned good back in the days with Hulk Hogan, that kind of thing. People love that. And so that's the heel turn reverse that I've just pulled. But I'm going to give you a little tip right now. How about Austin Eckler? Wherever anyone's telling you to take him about 10 spots higher. I can't believe where his ADP is at this point. I think this guy watching games was the best player on the field in a number of Chargers games. Their wide receiver position is in trouble. He ranks first or second in like every single running back receiving category out there right now. Anthony Lynn is the head coach. They're going to run the ball all day long. Austin Eckler can do it all. Draft this guy. Don't let him pass you by for some other ham and egger, please.
Wow. Greg, you built.
Are we worried here?
What worried about what?
I mean, that Mark's going to leave us for the fantasy show. It feels like there's something more going on here. He's trying to come up with like a pivot to fantasy. I don't know what it is.
There always is. Mark, he's a little bit more of a cagey careerist than he lets on with his quirks. And I think he realized after years that he was sealing himself off from a potential career or revenue stream by shutting out fantasy, because now all of a sudden he's this huge fantasy guy. But you know what? I like that Eckler. That's a guy you can get a good value. Greg, you built RotoWorld brick by brick. Do you have one to throw out there before people have their drafts?
I do. I can't let Mark just take this territory. I've got one thing to do, and that's don't take these mediocre running backs in the second and third and fourth round that I see going. I got a couple names for you. Todd Gurley, forget about him. Leonard Fournette, don't want him. David Johnson, no. Le'Veon Bell, come on, you kidding me? Frank Gore is outrunning him right now in Jets camp. There's so many good receivers right now that you can take in the second, third, fourth round that are good year after year. Guys like Adam Thielen. I don't want any of these running backs with major question marks.
See, Greg, that's what you're learning. I like to see it.
There's been so much negative Jets talk on the show so far. I'll throw out Chris Herndon, the Jets tight end. If there's one guy to get behind as a fantasy producer, it's Herndon, because the tight end room in the fantasy world is not very deep. But if you're looking for somebody that can make the leap, watch out for Herndon, who's getting targeted a lot because the Jets don't have any. I don't think they have professional wide receivers on their roster right now, which is something they need to work on for 2021. Mark, anything else to say? Hero of the Week, fantasy football expert. You're throwing up tweets out there on Twitter. This was my favorite fantasy player a long time ago. You are a part of the mainstream now in the fantasy world.
Well, I've been doing this for a long time. And, the first player that I picked was back in '88, Roger Craig, when Greg was about, 6 months old. So, you just got to look at that experience. And I clearly have Evan Silva's respect. We saw that at the beginning of the segment. So I think things are flying. And let's just keep the momentum going, please.
That was Hero of the Week, presented by Season 2 of The Boys. Coming up next, Cowboys wide receiver talk. But first, let's have a look at the latest trailer from the Amazon original series, The Boys.
You are under a misconception that you are our most valuable asset. You are not. Oh my God! Who do you think you are?
I'm Stormfront. I'm the new girl.
No, it.
What do we do now?
This is a war.
We're gonna take her down.
You are fun.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Let's continue to spin through the news in our league, and let's head over to Big D, where the Dallas Cowboys have a great room of wide receivers, including first-round pick CeeDee Lamb, and Executive Vice President Stephen Jones is bullish on the Rook, saying CeeDee Lamb is not looking like a rookie at all. And you guys know I don't like to bring it up, but this one is also in the old Zeusers trope database. Let's flash it up. There it is, the siren. Trope alert. Actually, extremely raw rookie Y is ready to contribute immediately. Again, these tropes exist because they pop up every single year, and you just insert new players and new teams. CeeDee Lamb, an immediate contributor in the pandemic year. Greg, you buying?
I'm buying a little bit. Another trope is Dan going third person. Love that it happened on NFL Network, calling himself the old Zeuser. Well, we don't even know if they're tropes this year because we're not going to see anything until week 1. But there's a lot of mouths to feed in that Cowboys offense, and I think people are sleeping on Michael Gallup. We talked about it on our fantasy extravaganza. We know how good Amari Cooper is, and Zeke and Tony Pollard. So I guess I'll believe it when I see it, that CeeDee Lamb is going to be a big factor in this offense.
I'd say even if he's like a very competent number 3 with Amari Cooper and Gallup there, it's the best wide receiver room in the NFL, I think. I really do. And I think they could be 12-4 if they're not. What are we doing here? They got weapons all over the place. I love that Kellen Moore is still there, that Mike McCarthy, they talked about him having this epiphany during his year off. But I think there's some evidence there that he kept the OC and he kept that continuity. And Dallas, to me, I think people are kind of sleeping on the Cowboys maybe because there's always a little bit of Dallas exhaustion, but the talent is there. Why not go win the NFC East and go from there, please? Win a playoff game for the first time in 6,000 years. Yeah,
the exhaustion is there because they get talked up as a big-time team every year, and meanwhile, they haven't been to the NFC title game in a quarter century. But in this case, they've done this right because there are a lot of teams in our league, Troy Aikman copyright, that draft a rookie wide receiver and they're like, okay, now be a starter and have 78 catches for 1,200 yards. They don't need that from CeeDee Lamb. They have Michael Gallup. They have Amari Cooper. And I think they could ease him in at a speed that's probably best for both the team and the player. So they got that right. In other news, the Buffalo Bills and their head coach, Sean McDermott, they're ready for a big season. But what McDermott's not ready for is this inconsistent attendance policy set up in the league where some teams are having X amount of fans allowed to attend. Some teams will be completely empty. Some stadiums, like in Cincinnati, are already announcing cardboard cutouts. There is an issue of competitive disadvantage, Mark. You buying into McDermott?
Well, McDermott is a friend of the show. We visited with him once, which means
Best
we
friend.
like him forever. But I'll go here. I agree with him entirely. In a season where there are so many uncontrollable competitive disadvantages, why create one? Why go and take an extra step to just create one that helps a certain amount of teams and doesn't? I get that we want fans in the stands, but I just think it should be unified. When it's safe for all and it's good for all, then you do it. I think McDermott has a point because you're playing in what's going to be essentially, maybe they're talking about pumping in sort of white noise in Buffalo, but you go to Kansas City and you got 25,000 fans in the seats. Does that ring true to you guys?
I am always a little confused about what is okay for coaches to complain about and what isn't. Because a lot of times they're talking about no excuses. We got to just go out there and we got to play the game and no distractions. And suddenly, 15,000 fans when it's usually 65 is going to change the course of the game. Go win a game. I don't know. It seems it's just confusing to me. Why is this an okay thing for coaches to be so scared of?
I don't know, but the whole thing with the crowd noise, whether it's piped in or it's going to be some people in the crowd, the whole thing seems odd. Steve Weish was on the Around the NFL podcast, which you can check out 3 times a week, and he was at the new Rams Chargers facility and talked about there was a white noise that was just on in the background that he likened to the poltergeist sound effect, if you're old enough to get that pop culture reference. It's all a little bit weird. And we also have a tweet here, I believe, from a Bay Area reporter, Matt Mayoko. Kyle Shanahan said he's hearing teams have to press play on crowd noise at the beginning of the game, and it can't be turned off until the end of the game. I don't know who this is all for. I don't know what this is about.
That part,
we don't need this.
That part's weird because they're talking about the noise being the same for the visiting offense and in the home team offense, which is completely atypical to the culture of having a home game in general. Your home team quarterback shouldn't be dealing with raucous chaos. That's the whole point of having a home game, right?
That's right, Mark. Good job. That's it for this conversation. We move on to the final thought that we all have. Listen, we all have a lot of thoughts. We just shared a bunch. Now we just get one more. And it's coming up. Jamal Adams missed a bit of time this week for maybe the strangest reason I've ever heard. Coming up next. People affected by severe weather and other disasters need help now. So support those impacted by Hurricane Laura. Text Laura to 90999 to give $10 to American Red Cross Hurricane Laura Relief. Welcome back now to the Around the NFL broadcast. And before we say goodbye, it's one final thought, and we welcome in our great producer, Erica Tamposi. Hey, Ricky.
Hey, guys.
All right, let's get to it. Greg Rosenthal, get us going.
Yeah, I think about all the athletes this week realizing how powerful they can be when they speak as one. And it's not just in the United States. You think of the UK Premier League teams that wore Black Lives Matter while they were still playing soccer. You think of Naomi Osaka, a Japanese tennis player who is unambiguously Black, and the conversations that's starting in Japan. You think of the worldwide audience of the NBA. And I don't know. I'm proud of these American athletes because it's a topic that goes beyond our borders, and I think it's been a rough week for the Stick to Sports crowd because this is part of sports. It's going to be part of our lives. It's part of these athletes' lives, and it's cool to see.
Mark.
Yeah, I think we all agree with Greg's message, and I think we'd agree with this too. That one of our coworkers, MJ Acosta, went through a transformation recently into becoming MJ Acosta Ruiz. She got married. Ooh. So congratulations from all of us. Great reporter. And I don't think it's not easy to plan and go through a wedding during a pandemic. And I think she's tweeted and Instagrammed about that. So congratulations. Good for her. Off to a good start.
All right. Congratulations to our boss, Matt Schneider, on his recent nuptials as well.
Absolutely. Probably should have mentioned that first.
Yeah, you're fired. I want to say, Jamal Adams, listen, I know things are weird between you and I as a Jets fan, but I really did feel for you when I heard that you missed practice this week. You needed stitches. After slicing your finger cutting strawberries? Does anybody believe that? I don't know if I do.
It's suspicious.
You're awfully hard on Jamal Adams all of a sudden, Dan. Awfully hard.
They're slippery, though. Strawberries are slippery.
I would say follow the trail and you'll get the truth. Erica.
You guys, my one final thought is very simple, okay? And it's my whole platform for 2020. America needs more game shows. So to prove this point as fast as you can, Greg, which team won the first Super Bowl ever?
The Packers.
Okay, Dan, before the introduction of plastic helmets, what were the helmets made of in the NFL?
Leather.
Yes, Mark, which NFL's team name was inspired by a famous writer?
Oh, the Ravens. Don't even go there with me.
See,
Erica.
this is the content that people need in 2020.
Stuff.
Right?
Wow.
I gave you guys easy ones.
Keep your eye out on Ricky and game shows down the line. All right, thank you for watching the Around the NFL broadcast presented by Season 2 of The Boys, only on Amazon Prime Video. And happy birthday to my mom. Love you, Deb Hanses. You are the best. Check out the Around the NFL podcast 3 times a week. And Tara Deeker, we love you too. Till next time.